Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 92 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit and sometimes crochet and get into all kinds of other crafting shenanigans. I'm so happy you're here with me today. I hope you've been having a really nice holiday season. It is Sunday, I'm a day late today. It is Sunday, December 26, 2021, and it's getting mid-afternoon here. I typically do my podcasts on a Saturday, and I actually honestly did consider getting some stuff done on Christmas Day in the afternoon. But I got lazy and I just sat there with my knitting and relaxing and eating, just enjoying the day with the hubby. So if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for joining me today. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back for another episode to see what I've been up to since you last saw me. I'm so happy to have all of you here. If you have not yet done so, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, hit the notification bell down in one of those spots down there, just to be notified when I post a new video, and share with your friends if you like. I'd be so happy to have you here with me on a regular basis. I'm always so happy to see new people joining me here. So I've had a fairly busy week. My hand is healing fantastically. That's where we're at now. The mobility's coming back quite well. And I have been doing a fair bit of knitting, and I've also been taking a lot of breaks. I'll knit for a little while, then just kind of rest my hands and let them have a break, and then I'm back at it. But I've been knitting quite a bit this past week and loving it. I'm on a break from work right now, and the next week coming up I also have off, although the hubby and I are making some plans to get a lot of spring cleaning done around the apartment. I'm not sure if it's early spring cleaning for this year. It's probably late spring cleaning from last year, to be honest with you. So that's kind of the hope of some of the things we'll do this week. So chances are I'll be mixing, tidying and sorting and pitching things with knitting. And that's the plan for this week. The following week I have 2 or 3 virtual conferences and some online things that are going to be taking up quite a few of my days. But all of those are just things that I can watch and listen. Take a few notes if I want to, but it allows me lots of knitting time. I'm just kind of a captive audience staring at the computer screen. So a week from now, I expect to get a goodly chunk of knitting done. So what have I been up to since I last saw you? I have picked up again my sort of shorty Halloween socks, and I'm really behind schedule on these. They should be ready for next Halloween. I did not get them ready for this Halloween. But here's where we are now. Since I last saw you, this is where the little marker is here, I have added the heel flap and done the heel turn. I have not picked up the gusset stitches yet, which is coming next, and then I'll move my way down the foot. But those are coming along nicely. The first sock is done. This is the second in the pair, and I'm just doing a simple 64 stitch cast on and doing a 2x2 rib. I did that all the way down the leg, which is, I think I only did 30 or 40 rounds down the leg, so it's not a long leg. I prefer my socks to be a little bit on the shorter side. I'm doing a slip stitch heel flap with just a standard heel turn, and then I'll just do standard gusset decreases, and I will continue with the 2x2 ribbing down the top of the foot and stockinette on the bottom. And then when we get to the toe, I'll just do a basic wedge toe. I'm using 2.25 millimeter needles, my Chow Goose. That's my go-to for sock knitting. And I'm using some bare yarn that I dyed myself. I've just used some bright orange and dark purple splotches on a hank of a bare yarn. So that's my progress on my sorta shorty Halloween socks. They will be ready to wear next Halloween. They did not get done in time for this year's Halloween. 2 hand surgeries kind of put a monkey wrench in getting a lot of knitting done earlier this fall. Just drinking water today. I've already had a cup of tea this morning, and I've had 2 Coke Zeros later in the morning and early afternoon, so I'm caffeined out. We'll just stick with just plain ordinary water for the rest of the day. That'll do me. My other work in progress, there she is living in my fringe supply field bag, and this is my Advent scarf for 2021. And this is a pattern by Trisha Weatherston, and it's a spin-off type of thing from the Sock Madness group. And each year Trisha does a different Advent scarf. And the clues come out each day from December 1st to December 24th. Since I had my hand surgery on December 1st, I got a late start. I did not get this scarf, well, it's actually this year it's a cowl. I did not get it cast on until the 15th of December. So I had a very late start. And I am happy to say though that I did make it earlier this morning. I got myself up to the halfway mark on this. And here's where it is now. Isn't it pretty? I am really enjoying this knit. I'm halfway done now, and it's going to be done as a cowl, and it is a combination of Japanese lace stitch patterns. On this section is the Japanese stitch pattern. This portion here is the Japanese stitch pattern, and then that's going to be mixed in with stranded color work. And the pattern is written for multiple colors, and particularly to use a lot of your scraps of yarn. Since I started late, I was able to take a look at people's project notes and pictures ahead of time, and I saw a few that had done them in single or in only 2 colors, and I really liked the look of that. So I decided once I got going with mine, I was going to opt for just doing 2 colors. So here's where I am now. And this, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's one round you do all purl, and then what that'll do is it'll cause it to fold. And once you get the second half of the cowl done, will be the same length as this half. It'll fold in half, and then you undo the provisional cast on and stitch the 2 open ends together, and you will just have all of your color work background, and your ends, everything will be tucked inside. So right now I have finished my knitting up until the end of day 12, and I'm ready to start day 13. The second half of the cowl is basically the opposite of what we have on the first half. There will be one section of color work, then a section of Japanese stitches, and then a section of color work again. So it just alternates Japanese stitch dictionary design, color work, Japanese stitches, color work, and so on. So I'm excited to continue working on this, and I'm super happy with how it's looking so far. I'm really excited to see how it's going to look once it's all finished. I have peeked ahead, and I know what the next 2 colorwork sections are going to look like, and they're going to look nice just done in 2 colors. I'd seen other people, what they did was for The colorwork section they did in, if they were using my colors, they would have done the whole background in blue and the design in white. And I like the look of this. I like the look of it this way a little bit better. So that's where I am so far. It's really pretty. And like I said, I'm excited to see what it looks like once it's all finished. So last week I had done 2 of the clues on this first section. I was almost done this section here. So each day's worth of clues is usually about 6 rounds. So it's not a huge amount, but it's quite a few stitches. It's over 250 stitches all the way around. I'm doing the smaller one. It still takes quite a while to knit each of those 6 rounds. So, and the needles I'm using, again, they're my Cheogus, and I'm using, I think it's a 3mm for the color work and 3.5mm for the Japanese Stitch Dictionary sections. So just to keep the gauge similar, we were instructed to switch needle sizes, and for my gauge that works out nicely. Going down two needle sizes for the colorwork section. The yarn I'm using, the white is a Bear yarn, and the blue is a yarn that I dyed myself for one of the Sock Madness rounds. It was the one I used for my I think the Madeline socks. Was the yarn I used. I used that yarn for that, and so I have enough of that left over so that I'm able to do the cowl quite easily. So that's my second work in progress. And my other 2 current works in progress I have not touched this past week or longer. It's been a while since I've touched either of them. One is my shawlography. I'm about half done that, and I'm hoping to get back to that probably early in the new year. And my Sunday cardigan is another project that I hope to get back to early in the new year. Most of the rough edges of the healing have settled down now. There's still a couple little rough edges, and I really don't want to get mohair fluffies stuck in there. So I'm going to leave the Sunday cardigan alone probably until we get into the new year. So that takes me to a new project and a new knit along that I have joined. I bought the pattern, I have the yarn set, ready to go, and I'm ready to cast on as soon as I'm done filming and editing right now. That new project is another Stephen West project. I haven't December 26th, and it is warm enough out that there's motorcycles out everywhere in our part of the country. Gorgeous weather this time of year for us this year. We might pay for it later when we get a cold snap later in the winter, but for now the weather is amazing. It's so nice out. But noisy with the motorcycles out there, but that's okay. So anyway, the new knit along that I've joined up with is the Hybrid Knit Along, which is a knit along that started this morning on December 26th, and it's a new Stephen West pattern. So as I mentioned, I haven't even finished my last Stephen West knit along. I'm only halfway through that, and I'm starting another one. There is clearly no hope for me. But the patterns, I wasn't sure if I was going to join it, but then I saw the patterns, and I absolutely love the patterns. And I thought I want to knit this shawl. So we're ready to cast on another project. So for this one, there's an option of doing there's two designs. It's either a triangular shawl or a half moon crescent kind of shawl. And they're both the same general design type. Both of them are both similar that way, it's just the shape is different. So I contemplated and hummed and hawed back and forth over which one I wanted to do, and I opted for the half moon, or the half pie shawl, or the crescent shaped shawl. And that is called the cabled trellis shawl. I don't remember the name of the triangular one. It's the same style of pattern. And the pattern calls for one main color and either gradation with 3 other colors, or you can do it all in 2 colors. And I opted for doing it in 2 colors. I prefer the idea of just working in 2 colors. So it is using either DK or worsted weight yarn. I had quite a few skeins of bare worsted weight yarn that I had bought for, what was it called? My Row Cardigan by Michelle Wong. And I had a bunch of that left over. So I thought, well, what I want to do, I thought I would just dye some yarn for it. Because I love dyeing, I love playing around with dyeing yarn. As you can tell, quite a few of my projects use my own hand-dyed yarn. And so I mixed up some dye. I thought, I wanted to do teal. So I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to keep the shawl for myself, or if the green turned out green enough that I would perhaps give it to my mom for a birthday present or a Christmas present for next year. So I played around with mixing the dye, and I ended up making the dye way too dark, or way too concentrated for the water. So I ended up with dyeing 3 skeins of the worsted weight yarn plus a bunch of fingering weight yarn before I was able to exhaust all the dye out of the tub of water I had created with the dye. So, oops. That's fine, because now I have enough to make this shawl. Fingering weight, I have enough yarn to make myself a cardigan or a sweater. I have another skein that I'm going to use for a pair of socks, and perhaps there's going to be enough left over of the fingering weight to make another pair of socks. Yeah. So far my yarn is living in another one of my fringe supply bags. And here's what I have for this so far. I dyed 3 skeins. I have 1 skein, one of the bare, one of the teal are caked up already, but this is the undyed yarn, or the uncaked yarn. So I have 2 of the skeins of the bare and 2 of the skeins of the teal. Now this is so pretty, and it is a tonal, even though there was like a ton of dye in there. It is tonal. There's some patches that are a little bit lighter, some a little bit darker. So this is going to work out nicely in the cable trellis shawl. Here's the other one. And I will cake these up later. I probably won't need all 3 skeins. I'll probably only need 2.5 or 2 of them, but I'll have the other ones for later. And I've caked up 2 of them, one of the bare and one of the teal, so I have those ready to cast on once I'm done videotaping here. So that's ready for my next project that I will be casting on later on today. Yes, these are definitely going on later on today. So the pattern calls for DK and suggests using 4.5 millimeter needles. What I've decided to do is, since I'm using worsted weight, I decided I would err on the side of caution and make it a little bit looser gauge. I didn't want to do a 4.5 millimeter on worsted weight, so I'm going to go up to a 5 millimeter needle for that, and we'll see what it looks like. So if you've seen the pattern before, it's kind of a stripy background, and it will have cables, basically cable trellis, a design with the cables that's going to overlay that. And this is, I think, a new technique. I haven't really done anything much this kind of style before, so I am really excited to try out this technique, and I'm really excited to get going and cast this on this afternoon. So hopefully I'll get some work done on my other whips this week. I might just go completely down the cable trellis shawl rabbit hole and only work on that this week. We'll wait and see. So that'll bring me up, once I cast that on, that'll bring me up to a total of 5 works in progress. And I really have to stop at that point. I cannot allow myself to cast on anything new until I finish some of these other ones, because I truly find that when I have too many whips on the go, I ignore some of them. I tend to only work on 2 or 3 any given week, at the most 3. Probably, unless I'm making a very conscious effort to work on each project or work on at least one project every day, a different project every day of the week. And I don't typically do that. So we shall see how that works out. And the other thing I had mentioned was that I had this excess dye. After I dyed my worsted weight yarn, I still had a ton of dye in the dye pot. So I dyed 5 skeins of a fingering weight yarn. And these guys will become either a cardigan or a sweater for myself. I might only need 4 of them. These are about 420 or 30 yards per skein. So for me to make one of the larger sizes of something, 4 or 5 will be plenty. So again, this is tonal. It's not quite as dark as the worsted weight is, because I had a good chunk of the dye had already come out of the bath by then. But I have these 5 gorgeous skeins of this kind of, oops, they almost went tumbling every which way. So I have 5 skeins of this gorgeous teal tonal yarn. So I'm excited to finish up some more of my whips so that I can get going on another sweater. The Sunday, I really do want to finish the Sunday cardigan before I start something with these guys. So those are some of the things I used to use up that dye bath. And then I did one other oddball skein. I love this one. This, I think, will either be a cowl. It's just a single skein I have with this. Either a cowl or a pair of socks. I'm almost thinking a cowl or a small scarfette, a little small kerchief size, like a kerchief size shawl. If you have suggestions for a shawl or something that'd be cool to make with this, let me know down below. So again, it's about 430 yards fingering weight. So I've done part of it is in this teal, and then part of it just has little flecks and speckles of the teal on the white portion of the yarn. So I think this would really make a really neat looking project once it's done. But I'm not quite sure if I want to do, I'm really not quite sure if I want to do socks with this. I'd like to have it something that's up closer to my face. I'm probably not a hat. I love making hats, but I don't really wear them very often. I just end up that my hair it's thin and flyaway and fluffy enough that as soon as I put a hat on, my hair is stuck to my head or it's just static. You know those, when you go to the science museum type places where you touch that ball and the hair just goes poof everywhere? I don't even need that ball to have my hair go all staticky and fluff everywhere in the winter time when it's dry. So, but I'm excited to cast on something with this down the road. So if you have suggestions, I'd love to see them. And other than that, I hope everyone had a nice holiday. I know for a lot of people this year, Christmas or the holiday season was probably a little more challenging than it has been in normal years. I hope one day we have a normal year again. I know myself, I had been hoping to be able to go up to Canada to visit with my mom and sister and niece and other family, and it wasn't in the cards this year. With things going on with pandemic and closures and restrictions, I just thought it's just not, I was just too wary of traveling with all this going on. And my mom was the same, because I would have only had about roughly 2 weeks to go up to visit. And so we thought if I had to go through a quarantine period in a hotel someplace by myself, that would eat up a lot of visiting time. So it's been 2 years since I've been home and seen my mom in real life. So I'm really hoping I'm able to get home this summer. I really do want to get home this summer to visit her. We're able to visit. We do video chats on Facebook Messenger every week, so we do get to see each other, but not in person. So, but other than not being able to travel, I had a nice quiet Christmas. The hubby and I had just a nice quiet day at home yesterday, and it was nice. We were supposed to sleep in. I woke up at 5:30. It's not what I had planned. So I got up, went to the bathroom, came back to bed, and I tossed and turned for half an hour, and I thought, I give up. And then the husband was up by 7:30, and when he's able to sleep in, 7:30 is not the time he gets up on his own. So we were both up earlier than we wanted, and so we just spent a relaxing day at home. We opened up a bunch of Christmas cards we had, and then we took a break and had some breakfast and some more coffee and tea. And then we went and opened up some gifts. And then my husband had a nap, and I just sat and sipped tea and knit. We watched some TV and ate. It was just a nice, relaxing day with nothing much to do. We watched some football, we watched some movies. It's just a nice, relaxing day. So, and this week coming up, the plan, as I mentioned earlier, the plan is to do a bunch of tidying around the apartment. So hopefully we get that done. My craft room being one of those areas that needs a major cleanup. And I am hoping that I can get all of my tubs of yarn out and sorted and organized. And if I get that done in the next couple weeks, I plan on videotaping some of that and posting that up here for you guys to see. But other than that, it's just nice and quiet around here. And think that's about it. I think I'll go and get the editing done on this video and cast on my cable trellis shawl pattern. I'm excited, really excited to get that going. I think I got yarn fluffy in my eye when I was snuggling up to my my new yarn. Oh well. So anyways, I better get going. I'll get the editing done here, and then I'm gonna cast on another, so I have another whip. I don't need another whip. So hopefully next week you'll get to see something finished, or at least some major progress on my cable trellis shawl. Alrighty, take care everyone, and I will see you guys again in a week. Bye!